Okay guys, so we're going to be finishing this drawing, and with the last prompt I talked to you a lot about focusing on noticing texture and noticing details that create texture and other visual things happening on your object. We talked about the fact that with the lime that I was showing you, that the little juice pods were the most prominent texture, and they aren't just little scribbles representing that. They're actual little pods. So that would be a detail that our eyes would notice, okay? A lot of times our brain, when we look at something, our brain likes to sort of summarize things very quickly and say, for example, that little squiggles are what's happening inside of a lime or an orange, okay? But I'm trying to have you make your brain slow down and not summarize what it sees, not give you the cliff notes of what it's seeing, okay? Instead, I'd like every detail, every word of the visual story, okay? We talked about with the leaf that there is sort of a zigzag line to the edge of the leaf I was showing you, but it's not a perfect zigzag. The little points go in many different directions, and that would be the detail of the texture that I would want your brain to notice and not summarize it into just a simple zigzag. We also talked about the veins not being like a center vein that just has lines coming out, from the side, okay? The details of what the veins actually look like, even though we didn't draw every single vein, are what I want you to train your brain to do. Train your brain to see the details and don't allow it to summarize what it's looking at, okay? Always slow down, look hard, look carefully at what you're drawing. Now, the other thing we talked about with the veins in particular is that when you make a close-up drawing, which is what we're doing here, the veins become much bigger or wider, just like the rest of the drawing becomes bigger, okay? Now, you may not be drawing a leaf, all right? But every detail that you're drawing in your natural, your object from nature should be bigger, just like the outline of it, okay? So here's a weird thing. In my mind, when I was thinking about doing this lesson for you guys today, I was thinking, okay, I got to add value, because that's what we're doing today. We're adding value, okay? We're finishing up. And in my mind, before I went out to pick the same leaf again, I imagined that I would be coloring in this double line that represents the veins. I'd be coloring that in. In my mind, I thought that the veins would be darker. I was still visualizing it as a single darker line in my mind's eye. And when I picked the leaf, I realized that this leaf, the veins are actually lighter than the rest of the values. And I noticed outside that a lot of the leaves have veins that are actually lighter. Look at the back. The veins are much lighter. And if I was to choose to draw the back of the leaf, which I could still do at this point, notice that the darker values are right up close against the veins, okay? Take the time to look at your natural object. Now, not every leaf is like that. This leaf, which I don't know if you can see that, does have veins that are darker than the rest of the leaf. Okay? On the back, it looks like the center vein is lighter, and maybe the other veins are darker than the rest of the leaf. Okay, notice how this value here becomes darker. That's hitched to the center vein, which is lighter. Notice your details. Do not allow your brain to summarize, okay? So for me, I'm actually going to decide that I'm going to draw the back of my leaf, I think, because I really think it's so cool the way the veins are raised up here. And I'm only going to do one section for you because you may not be doing a leaf. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these veins white. And later, when I'm done adding value to the rest of my leaf, I might add like a half value. Remember, number 1 value is a very light value because it's closest to 0 value. Okay? Now, I'm going to put this here so you might be able to see it. And I'm just going to choose to fill in this area. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to fill my area with a number 1 value. And I think you should start with a number 1 value. Your lightest value may not be a number 1. It may be a number 2 or a number 3 value. Remember back to the value scale, what I mean when I refer to that. All right? In fact, I kind of feel like my lightest value is probably a number 2 or 3 because green is a darkish color. So, I don't know. I'm gonna start with a very light value though, because oftentimes when we use our blending tortillon or blending stick, whatever you want to call it, it does get darker, even if it's a fresh, brand new blending stick. And you know what? Why that is, I just don't know. Okay? Take your time. Take your time. You've been doing a real nice job up until now. Okay? I would like you to practice using your blending tortillon if it's appropriate for your drawing. So there I have what I think is actually a quite nice lightest or base overall value. And I'm going to look at my leaf and see that it looks like on this side of each of the veins, okay, that's where it's the darkest. It's lighter over here, okay? So this is the side I'm going to add another value. And I'm going to do it with microscopic sort of cross-hatching. Does anybody know what cross-hatching is? I'll show you right now. Cross-hatching, if it's big, it's many lines that cross over each other, going in many different directions, okay? Now, the more times you do this, the darker the value becomes. That looks to me like it's probably a number 2 or 3 value right now. The fewer times lines cross over each other, the lighter the value. That's cross-hatching. I'm doing teeny tiny microscopic cross-hatching. Okay, and I'm adding one value here that's just a little bit darker than my previous value. I'm following along that vein. I don't really want the viewer to notice too hard that I'm, this texture that I'm creating with the cross-hatching. There we are with that word texture again. I mean, it is obvious to me, and I think it's okay because this is a drawing. It's not a photo, I'm going to come up here a little bit. Remember to not make your value straight. Make it nice and jagged. I encourage you to use cross-hatching, please. In fact, yes, do use cross-hatching. All right? That will be a requirement because I think it's going to be appropriate for most anything that you choose in this case. Now I'm adding a third value. I am going to expect a value scale of 3 on your object. So you're going to need to use cross-hatching and a value scale of 3. Okay? And I'm going to need to know where your light source is coming from by where you add your values. Looks like my light source is coming from here because the veins are darker on this side of each of the more prominent veins. My third value here is much skinnier than the value that I just put on with the cross-hatching, and this cross-hatching is even smaller. Now, I could come in here with my blending tortillon, but if I do that, I really should also be doing a cross-hatching motion. And when you blend with this, you shouldn't be grinding it into the paper so that there's no longer a point. Okay? because you're not trying to make the pencil strokes completely disappear. You're just trying to soften them a bit. It looks like I colored in that vein a little bit by accident. There we go. Okay. All right. I'm going to do a couple more sections of this, and I will post not an end result of the whole thing, but a progress report. All right. Good luck. And our next project is going to be really cool. I think we're going to be working on a little bit of an optical illusion. Okay, bye.